Alright, so I got some footage of that. I realized I had the camera in the direct sunlight and it does not like that at all. I don't know what our temperatures are, but we're getting close to triple digits. Funny enough, talking to my commanding officer in the reserves, he's down there in San Antonio, works at Fort Bliss too, but he was surprised when I said, yeah, we get triple digits up here in the high desert. It's funny to me. I mean, I grew up in Texas, but a lot of Texans think they're the only place that really gets hot, and they forget the rest of the Southwest routinely sees triple digits. I know as a young constructor in Colorado, out there on the Front Range, I often saw triple digits. See them here in Utah too, but the nice thing about Utah is here in the high desert, we get a storm roll in and it'll drop it 30 to 40 degrees, so we do get reliefs, and we've had a good summer that way. But what I was trying to show is how I'm shortening up this, so I'm now much more in line with my cut. Right there, kind of the end of the inner finner well right there. Perpetuated some really ugly welds. It's because all I have is flux core right now. And for what I'm doing, I didn't really figure I wanted to waste the time to go get gas. I do realize, while this will hold, this is good for now. I will go get some gas, and on the back side, on the inside of these things, I will lay some really good gas beads. I actually might try the dual shield method by leaving the flux core in and running gas with it and see what I can get. But obviously I'm trying to maintain the pretty lines that the artists at Trail Ready put on this bumper, just bringing it forward. A lot more pitting and junk in here, you know, clean up the stuff as much as I want. Flux core is always going to do that anyhow. There might be better ways to do it. I'm just not one of them that knows how to do that. I see a crack between the joint. I might want to dig that out and fill it in more. I may do that after I'm done filming here, because if I see that crack, I know I didn't get good penetration there, so I may dig that out and throw some more weld, grind it down again. This side turned out a heck of a lot better. There's some pitting in here and here. And I don't know what I'm doing differently. All I'm doing is trying to make this actually look decent enough, try to keep the lines that Trail Ready designed on this sweet bumper. Good thick steel that they put on here, good high quality steel. So it does what I need it to do, and I've beat the snot out of this thing off-road. But I need these out of the way to get to phase 2 of today's plans. So a couple days ago I noticed that was blistering up with rust underneath the Line X. Somehow a penetration got through, water got behind it, so on and so forth. This truck is never in the garage anymore, it doesn't fit anymore. So it's only a matter of time, really. That one's from because this wheel, it needs to move forward, it impacts. And I did some damage there when I was straightening it out so I can open my doors again. It's a lot of rust. The only thing I can do, and this is why I will never do a Line X again. I love Line X, I love the material, but I'll never coat a vehicle in Line X again because you can't patch it. You know, when it comes time to do this truck, I'm doing Raptor liner, because Raptor liner you can sand and patch. This I cannot patch, so I'm just going to hit it with some rusty metal primer, because that metal's all rustified. I'm glad that didn't go all the way through. That was my big fear. But at least it's only that far, so I cut past all of the rust, clean it up with a wire wheel the best I can. And I'm going to hit it up with some rusty metal primer and Rust-Oleum and see if I can't keep it from having issues in the future. And I've got red, I'll do the stripe again, I'll do gray. Do the best I can. Kind of pisses me off, but this truck does get used and abused off-road, so something caused a penetration there. I know what did that. Now I'm left to fix it. So it's not as pretty as it once was, but again, you follow along, you know I use this truck off-road. I take it all over the place, up in the mountains, Moab. In case you haven't seen it before, spot works, spot repairs like that, I'll usually mask off with a garbage bag like that, cut off the work area. I use duct tape, T-Rex tape in this case, to get the stuff to actually stick to the Line X, because regular blue tape will not. And then I line it all up with the duct tape, then the blue tape on top of that. Once I've got a hole, masks it off nice and neat. I don't really have too much in the way of overspray because I am outdoors. But yeah, that's about what I do for doing patches like that, and that's one big nasty patch. I'm sure the other door's the same way. That's what really pisses me off. I probably could do some filler and stuff in there. I'm not today. I'm just not. I'm going to patch this, color code it. I've got a Rust-Oleum gray, kind of matches that gray. I've got Rust-Oleum red that matches that. And at least it'll be color matched. It won't be texture matched, but it's not going to rust. That one did frighten me because I was afraid it was going to rust all the way through. That was some pretty cankerous stuff. So that's how I do it. Still haven't gotten to what I mean to be doing today. But that does need to be taken care of. I got to get that rust under control. Desert truck, but we do use salt on our roads. Alright, on the bumper, I did some self-etching primer, then some basic Rust-Oleum black. Boy, I got some good runs on that one. Doesn't matter. It'll be alright. I do that Rust-Oleum to give it a good thick, and Rust-Oleum is like that, a good thick coating to keep any moisture and rust away from the bare metal that I just had. Then I go for Duplicolor's truck bed liner. I do like Duplicolor's bed liner. I don't like their paints, I like their bed liner. So I'll do the bed liner here. I'll do bed liner here, which is kind of backwards of the two. I'm doing black there just for color coating. This I want the bed liner for texture, and then I'll top coat the bed liner with the color. So I'm playing around with all the paints I've got to get the texture and coating I want with these things. Okay, so I didn't film a whole lot of that. I was just getting the work done, removing the factory fender flares there. So I've got a set of 4 fender flares that'll work on a truck that are already Linexed. Wouldn't that be nice? But to get them off, because they were all Linexed in, I had to cut the Linex with a razor knife. And then you have these backing deals that are basically, before they even put the trucks together, they bolt these things on, and then they'll screw them on the bottom. Before the fender ever goes on the truck, it's all screwed on. It's already been painted white as a fender, and then they screw that on. They might do that. I don't know if you can reach that from the interior though. I don't know. I don't think you can. I think it's got to be on before the fender goes on. Which is just, so you got to cut those things off. And I had to do this on my 93 when I took its fenders off and repainted everything. But those all come off. The bolts just fall in there. They'll stay in there forever until the truck dies. But you look with stock, I've got a fair amount sticking out, and these are just 1250s. If I go up to a 40 1350, then I'm going to have even more sticking out, right? If I go to a 40. Probably just go to a 37 or 38 after this is done. Expect these tires to last me at least until next summer. But I'll be the first to admit, yes, this is purely aesthetic. It's purely because it's what I want the truck to look like. Those factory flares were fine. They added another probably 3/4 of an inch outside, maybe an inch. So they did cover a little bit. I didn't catch any shots of that. Alright, I pop open these boxes and get all kinds of stuff. Instructions I've already taped to the truck because I'm kind of looking at things already. Bunch of rivets and screws, miscellaneous hardware, some L brackets. As loaded in the instruction, you're gonna need to put some support back in between the inner fender and the outer fender. Stickers, always gotta have stickers. And then, yeah, these little gasket type material things. 3M tape on those. Yeah, that should keep it from rubbing through anything on the paint. So you get these instructions with all your measurements to cut and how to do that, how to trim the bumper if you still got a stock bumper. You can see in here, it's talking about where to put those little L brackets. There too. Flip side of this paper is the rear. It's a little bit ripped. It's funny, as somebody I know called these bush crackers. There's a crack there. There's a dent there. It's ABS plastic, I can fix that. See here, I did the pie cuts, right? Did the pie cuts and folded it all over, and that's because that was going to be exposed. Wanted to have a rounded edge, not a sharp edge. These, because of this, will not really be exposed to abuse, so all I got to do is just coat them a little bit. So I think I am going to straight cut some stuff out once I've got it lined out and know where my cuts are supposed to be. comes to cutting tools, I do prefer the cutoff wheel because I feel like I have more control with it. Sometimes the Sawzall gets squirrely. However, in this job, like a lot of jobs, you need both. There were portions in there you saw where I had to get a Sawzall in there to get it cut off. Other portions I was just fine with the cutoff wheel. You see there, I laid on the Rust-Oleum nice and thick with lots of runs. Scuffed it up beforehand. That should keep things safe. Back here I didn't see much signs of rust. Up here I did. There was just some junk that was caught in the factory fender flares. If I've got runs, that means the paint's thick, and that's all it needs to be, because all this will be hidden up by the fender flares themselves. Didn't spend a whole lot of time masking it off, just using a piece of cardboard to keep most of it off. The fender flares themselves do overlap, so they'll cover up anything. The gray is close enough to the gray Linux anyhow. So when you take a look at the hardware they give, they got basic screws, and they're just self-tappers. Not very big. They go in these little washers with the black caps that go over them. And that's fine. That's fine, but I am only going to use those temporarily. I'm definitely not touching any of the rivets. I'm not going to do that at all. Because what they mean for you to do is those gaps in the metal, they want you to fill them in by riveting these on as support braces. And that's fine if you don't own a welder. So I'm going to put them on for now. But I will probably come back and actually get some sheet metal and tack in a whole bunch of stuff in there, seal it all up nice and neat, because that's a little bit more of a gap, and I would like to put some metal in there, and I'll just tack it all in place and then seam seal it, get that in there. I need to get some gas before I can do that. I will put the screws in. The screws are going to end up being in here, but I'm going to later want to do, once I've got the screws in there, that marks it pretty neatly for me to drill these out and put riv nuts in there. And with the riv nuts, that means I can remove these if I crack one, break one, whatever, mangle one up. I just remove them, order another one, and just put it right back in. So I need to get some stainless steel button head hardware to go with these. I've got cap screw style ones, but I don't think that's really what I want. I think I want button head. So those will look pretty cool. Alright, got one side done. Now it's just rinse and repeat, get the other side done. And there we go, it's all done. For now. Hardware that came with it I'm not too satisfied with, but that's okay because I'm going to put my own stuff on it. I don't like the idea of just driving sheet metal screws in anyway. Their little button head things don't stick on as well as you might like, or I'm just too ham-fisted with them. But heck of a lot more coverage. Definitely ready for larger tires now. And back in the day, this is how you would take 35s and put them on an unlifted truck. Yeah, hardware I want is on the way. Problem I had, see how smashed that is. I can't get the button on it. They didn't give me enough of these white things anyway. That's all smashed in there. There's no way you can get one on. Some of them are staying, some of them not. This one popped off. Who knows where it is now. But I'll take care of that on another day. It took me probably 3 days to get this done in between work and everything else I had to do. A couple hours here, a couple hours there. That's the way it goes. But I am liking it. And yes, it is absolutely an aesthetic kind of thing. Function, yeah, it gives you a little bit more flair, it gives you a little more protection on the body, sure. Definitely opens it up for larger tires. But this is totally... I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and this is what you did back then. This is totally a harkening back to that. It gives me what I wanted the truck to look like. What was kind of fun is that bumper didn't interfere with it as much as I thought it might. It actually worked pretty well with it. But there you go, Bushwacker fender flares on an OBS Chevy. If you come this far, appreciate you watching. Hope it gave you some ideas and does you some good. We'll catch you on the next one.